Actually know how to carry on after that, but just bear with me. Thank you to Mary and that wonderful gentleman who decided just right off his own bat to come and speak. We need more people who just do that, who decide to just take the initiative and speak. My mom is also in a nursing home. 10 years ago, a stroke left her wheelchair bound and unable to talk more than odd words. With the love and support of family and an incredible care team, all working hand in hand, my mom was literally brought back from the brink of death. But the COVID protocols have impacted even my mom, and she was in the best of health. Her daily support has been reduced to the minimum required for existence. We're only allowed to visit her when we're at the centre in her room. You may not know, but 70% of comprehension is from non-verbal cues, from facial expressions, tone and music of voice. My mum lip reads and interprets much of what is said to her from facial expressions. She's hard of hearing, in addition to the brain damage caused by her stroke. Everyone she meets, as Mary was saying, and Chris has talked about so eloquently and accurately, is now masked. So she struggles all day to understand what anyone's saying to her. My mom has been denied all human connection, physical and emotional, due to the extreme COVID protocols. A stroke deprived her of the ability to speak to others. But the mandatory mask rule has deprived her of the ability to understand others. This is the ultimate in isolation. Since March, there have been 3 lockdowns of the whole centre, with extra time added on. The last 2 lockdowns were related to 7 staff and voluntary asymptomatic testing. This has meant weeks where our access has been limited or denied. Parents, I'm speaking to you across the world. Remember this for schools. Testing equals cases equals lockdowns. Lockdowns over and over again. Testing has one purpose. It is to lock you and others down. When an outbreak is called in a care centre, staff, as Mary pointed out, are forced to work for weeks in full PPE, masks, plastic visors, goggles and gowns. They struggle to safely care for the residents. I had one staff member tell me that the visor that she wears is so restrictive that when she bends over to help move residents, the glare from the sun obscures her vision. It actually risks her ability to do her job safely and effectively. The staff are struggling to care for the residents. This PPE is cumbersome. It's hot to wear all day. The glasses steam up. And as I said, the visors create glare. The staff are physically and emotionally exhausted from working in these intense conditions. The residents, as Mary pointed out, are bewildered and fearful of staff they no longer recognise. My mum has missed medical and personal appointments in and out of the centre because of these lockdowns. One of them was for a cancerous growth on her finger. Alone, she is left to try and rationalize this insanity. We have fought for her and all the residents to be able to have quality of life with all due respect to the risk posed by this virus. I've actually had residents approach me and tell me that they will protest themselves if that's what it takes for them to be heard. Health professionals have told me they believe the measures are totally unnecessary and are resulting in physical and psychological harm to those in their care. We, along with other families, have taken our concerns to the care managers, the senior management, to Alberta Health Services, to Janice Harrington, patient advocate for Alberta, to Dina Hinshaw, to Tyler Shandro, and to over 400 politicians across Canada. Media, who I notice yet again are absent today, have ignored our requests for an interview. There have been endless excuses and finger-pointing all the way up the AHS chain of command. We're just following orders, has been the refrain. Last month, Dina Hinshaw finally modified her orders for those in care. However, it is still not nearly enough to restore full care and provide the support so desperately needed for our most vulnerable community. My mum might not be able to speak for herself, but this family and Mary are not going away quietly. We end with a special mention to a lady called EJ. As we speak, EJ is in hospital fighting to heal her infection. Her daughter can't be with us. She asked me to say these words. She is at the hospital trying to feed her mum. So what can you do to protect a family member in care? To make any sense of this madness, my first suggestion was to go and order wine or beer by the crate. But let's start with Dina Hinshaw's orders, 29/2020 and 32/2020. Read those orders. Take out of them what applies to your loved one. Then see how the care homes are actually applying those orders. You'll find that many of these care homes are erring on the side of caution, or should I say extreme. Use that to your advantage. Call out the centres for their overzealous approach. Argue your loved one's special needs. Insist on access, even in an outbreak. If you demand a welfare check, this has to be accommodated. Visit, as Mary said, as often as you can. Take your loved ones off-site, even for short visits. Keep written notes and take photographs of any concerns you have. Demand a doctor attend in person, never mind virtual visits. Hello, when have we ever had virtual visiting by our doctors? Demand a doctor attend in person if needed. Worst case, as has happened this week, call an ambulance yourself if you feel the need is urgent. Follow the rules, but question everything that doesn't make sense. Do, though, take the time to thank and support the many frontline staff. Remember, most are doing their absolute best in the worst of circumstances. I've known many of these people for 10 years that have looked after my mum. I consider them my friends. We're all actually on the same page. Connect with other families and groups on social media for support. Remember, if you are power of attorney, responsible for a medical directive, you make decisions on care. Also, informed consent means you have to be notified of and understand any medical procedures involving your loved one. Question everything you are being asked to consent to, including any testing, vaccines, or medical changes. Like everything COVID, please do your research. Your loved one's life, your children's life, may just depend on it. We're all facing choices today which will ultimately change the course of history. 2020 is the year that will define us all. We must stand against measures imposed on our society that we know in our heads and our hearts are wrong. I have to tell you that what saddens me the most is the fear I see in the eyes of our elderly. We all have a duty to our fellow human beings to speak out against injustice. In the words of one of the most peaceful men of all time, Mahatma Gandhi again, the enemy is fear. We think it is hate, but it is fear. Be truthful, gentle, and fearless. We're on Facebook under David Karen Dickson until Mark Zuckerberg decides we've spoken the truth once too often. I'll post the transcript of this speech on our Facebook page if anyone wants to access it or to contact us directly. Please note that unlike the government, everybody talking here today really is here to help.